Well, this is an interesting case, Dogman. So usually when you, in some weeks there's like 4 or 5 films open, some weeks there's 6, 7, 8, 9 films. And when that happens, I sort of have to make a call on which ones I do and don't. Anyway, so Simon Poole, redactor Simon Poole, sent me a thing saying, you are going to do Dogman, aren't you? And I actually, for the stuff that I had looked across, because there's a bunch of awards contenders, I said, oh, I hadn't planned on it. Well, I said, you have to do Dogman, you have to do Dogman, you have to do Dogman. And then I looked up Dogman, and it's a spin-off from a story within a story from Captain Underpants, the first epic movie, which I remember really, really liking, Captain Underpants. So this is action comedy film based on Dave Pilkey's graphic novel series, Dogman. And of course, if I had young children at this point, I would have known that. And there is a very, very interesting thing that when you get to the point that your children have grown up and gone away, you're going, I don't know what this is. It is. So this is written and directed by Pete Hastings, who had directed Captain Underpants, which I like very much. Voice cast is Pete Davidson, Lil Ray Howery, Isla Fisher, Poppy Lou, and also, weirdly enough, Ricky Gervais. The voice cast is very good. With Ricky Gervais is the one bit of voice casting that I thought, I'm not entirely sure that. I mean, I can understand why you get Ricky Gervais to do it because he's funny, but he's the one voice that I thought actually I probably would have recast that anyway. So the story begins with the creation of Dogman. So there is this villainous cat. People who know Dogman will know this already. There is this villainous cat, Petey, who is attempting to be villainous and attempting to blow up a building. And this cop arrives with his dog, and they get to the top of the building. And at the top of the building, there is a bomb which they are trying to defuse, which goes wrong. So they sew the dog's head onto the man's body. So he's Dogman, part dog, part man, all hero. But obviously, because he's got a dog's head, he's a very good cop. But if he pines after a ball, and if you throw a piece of paper, he will go and chase that. And if a squirrel turns up, he will be distracted. So, meanwhile, the evil cat is doing all this evil stuff, and Dogman keeps arresting the evil cat, which keeps escaping. And then the evil cat tries to clone himself because he figures that if there are more of him than one, that will be good. But he gets the instructions wrong. And instead of cloning himself, he makes a little version of himself who is very childlike and innocent. And then the big cat tries to teach the innocent childlike cat to be evil, but that doesn't work. And then there's a whole bit in which he tries to revive the dead body of an evil telekinetic fish called Flippy using this thing called living spray. But that goes wrong because the living spray manages to bring the entire factory that it's in to life. So then you've got the evil telekinetic fish, you've got the walking buildings, you've got the evil cat, you've got the dog head and the man, and then you've got the little cat who isn't evil. And anyway, that's so that's the beginning of it. So, like Captain Underpants, it's really entertainingly anarchic fare. I was really baffled about what the BBFC would make of it, because some of it there's a bit in it in which the little innocent cat says "Pippy Taye Flippy Flipper," which is like, okay, fine, we know what that's a reference to. So I was looking.
That's quite funny.
Yeah, I thought it was too. So the BBFC, God bless them, in their straight-faced way, it's all very much says violence. Robots engage in fights, because there's a robot. There's a great big robot version of the little cat is in the big thing, and then the dog man is in a big robot thing. Robots engage in fights and throw each other to the ground. Characters also shoot cannonballs and laser weapons at each other. Okay, that's fine. Threat and horror. An army of beastly buildings go on an evil rampage in the city, destroying cars and streets in their wake. Threat is often accompanied by comedy and has quick, reassuring outcomes, one of which is a bit when the mayor says, let's just ignore the fact that the whole city has been destroyed. And then language, bad language is very mild, butt and jerk, and there is mild, rude humor, such as a robotic weapon being named the Butt Sniffer 2000 and a cat calling a woman poo-poo head. Now, I'm sorry, but
is that a PG or is that still going through on a U?
Honestly, it's one of those. I actually think it's a U. Let me just check this. I think it's a U certificate. But the thing is, what's really funny is when I turned up to see it, there's a friend of mine who we sort of see at screenings, and he's very kind of very across this sort of stuff. He's Van. He said, "Oh, He said, Mark, so you came in specially for the Dogman. So he knew exactly what he was getting. And then Van and I sat in the back row at Universal, and I started laughing in that kind of, really serious. When I was U certificate for very mild threat, violence, rude humor, language, and upsetting scenes. And we sat in the back, and I started giggling, and I laughed more during Dogman than I have in many an alleged live action comedy. So if you've got kids who want to go and see Dogman, and you're a parent who's going to take them and you think, oh, it's a U certificate animation, believe me, there are more laughs in Dogman than there are in plenty of things that you've gone to see as kind of, grown-up comedy films. Obviously, if you know the Dave Pilkey stuff, if you know the Captain Underpants thing, the whole point is it's this absurdist, anarchic, unruly comedy. But I thought it was genuinely funny, and I'm now, this is something I wouldn't say very often to producer Simon, the great redactor. Thank you for insisting that I did Dogman, because actually in a strangely tough week, it was a little ray of sunshine.
He'll be insufferable now.
I know. He's insufferable already.
That's true. I also think, just on the Ricky Gervais thing, I'm sometimes baffled by animations where they hire very, very famous people with very, very recognizable voices to be an ant or to be a dog or to be a cat. Do you remember when in the His Dark Materials, when that started off, when it was the Golden Compass?
Yes.
Was that what it was called?
Golden
Anyway,
Compass,
and they got Ian McKellen to voice Erik Bjørnson.
Oh, that's right.
And everyone goes, but it's Ian McKellen's voice. What you want is a proper voice actor doing a proper scary, Erik Bjørnson kind of voice. And when you get to, so I imagine as soon as they get to the character voiced by Ricky Gervais, everyone goes, well, that's just Ricky Gervais.
There is a weird thing which happens, which is, it's the reanimated evil telekinetic fish, Flippy, and the Flippy Flipper thing. When as soon as it starts talking in Ricky Gervais's voice, it's just Ricky Gervais, and that it's a weird thing. I mean, it's not the Lil Ray Harry thing. That's all fine, and actually Isla Fisher, that's all fine. But it's just this one thing, and maybe it's because I'm British, but it just, every time that character spoke, it didn't seem to me like that character. It sounded to me like Ricky Gervais doing the voice of that character. I'm not criticizing Ricky Gervais. I mean, I think he's very funny, but it was just, I thought it was a weird bit of casting.
The exception to that would be Robin Williams being Aladdin, who just kind of reinvented that.
Yeah, but Robin Williams being Aladdin was like the kind of, the body possessed of many souls, wasn't it? Because the whole point about it was that he was one of those people who, when he did his act, there was 58 different voices came out.
Yeah. Astonishing. Okay, so Dogman with a big recommendation.
Big thumbs up. Big thumbs up.